For over 47 years, Voyager 2 has drifted alone through the infinite void of interstellar space. Launched in 1977 with a mission to explore the outer planets, it was never meant to last this long. After its final planetary flyby of Neptune in 1989, the probe was expected to simply fade away, batteries dying, systems failing, eventually going silent as it tumbled into the cosmic darkness forever. But Voyager 2 had other plans. On February 14, 2025, at exactly 3:47 a.m. Eastern Time, the Deep Space Network in Canberra, Australia picked up a transmission. Not just any transmission. This was a signal from Voyager 2 that defied every law of physics NASA thought they understood. The probe was 13.2 billion miles from Earth, so far that radio signals take over 19 hours to reach us, traveling at the speed of light. But this signal arrived in 11 minutes. Engineers at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory initially dismissed it as a glitch, a timing error in the atomic clocks, maybe interference, from a solar flare. But when they ran the diagnostics, everything checked out. The clocks were perfect, the signal was real. And what was more terrifying? The data it contained wasn't just telemetry. It wasn't the usual temperature readings or cosmic ray measurements. It was a warning. Voyager 2 had encountered something out there in the vast, lightless expanse between stars, something that doesn't belong in any scientific model, something that has been waiting. And what it found has left NASA completely and utterly speechless. Voyager 2 was designed to be humanity's ambassador to the cosmos. Equipped with the famous Golden Record, a time capsule containing sounds and images from Earth, it was meant to tell any extraterrestrial intelligence who we are, where we come from, and what we've achieved. After completing its grand tour of Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, Voyager 2 crossed the heliopause in November 2018, the boundary where the Sun's influence ends and true interstellar space begins. At that point, scientists expected the probe to send back sparse data for maybe another decade before its plutonium power source decayed beyond usefulness. The probe's instruments were shutting down one by one. First, the planetary cameras in 1989. Then, the ultraviolet spectrometer in 2016. By 2025, only 4 instruments remained active, each drawing mere watts of power from the dying radioisotope thermoelectric generators. Communication with Voyager 2 had become routine. A simple ping every few weeks. Temperature data, plasma readings, cosmic ray counts. Nothing extraordinary. Just the quiet hum of a machine slowly dying 13 billion miles from home. But on that February morning, everything changed. The signal that arrived at the Canberra Deep Space Communication Complex wasn't scheduled. It wasn't a response to any command from Earth. It was spontaneous, autonomous. And according to the timestamps embedded in the data packet, it had been sent just 11 minutes before it arrived. That should have been impossible. At Voyager 2's current distance, the speed of light dictates that any signal should take 19 hours and 22 minutes to reach Earth. There is no known physics that allows information to travel faster than light. Yet here was irrefutable proof, logged by 3 separate atomic clocks across 2 continents, that Voyager 2's signal had arrived 8 times faster than it should have. Dr. Suzanne Dodd, director of the Interstellar mission at JPL, was woken up at 4 a.m. with the news. Her first response? Check the clocks. Check everything. The team spent 14 hours running diagnostics. They calibrated the atomic clocks against GPS satellites, against pulsars, against the International Atomic Time Standard. Everything was perfect. The signal had somehow traveled faster than light. Or, and this is what terrified the team even more, it had been sent before Voyager 2 even knew it needed to send it. As the initial shock wore off, the team at JPL shifted focus to the content of the signal. The data packet was small, only 1,247 bytes, but it was densely packed with information that made no sense within the context of Voyager 2's programming. The first thing they noticed was the data structure. Voyager 2 transmits using a format developed in the 1970s, a simple binary system that encodes sensor readings into packets. But this transmission was different. It was compressed using an algorithm that Voyager 2 doesn't have, can't have. The probe's computer has 69 kilobytes of memory, less than a digital watch, yet somehow it had sent data compressed with what appeared to be a sophisticated encryption protocol. When the team finally decompressed the signal using modern algorithms, they found three distinct components. The first component was a timestamp, not a standard Unix timestamp or mission elapsed time. This was something else. A numerical sequence that, when cross-referenced with astronomical databases, corresponded to a date, August 20th, 1977, the day Voyager 2 launched. But the timestamp wasn't marking the launch, it was counting backward from it, as if something had been measuring time in reverse, counting down to the moment Voyager 2 left Earth. The second component was coordinates, a set of celestial coordinates that didn't match Voyager 2's current position. When NASA's astrodynamics team plotted them, they found the coordinates pointed to a region of space approximately 2,300 light-years away in the constellation Lyra. The target? A zone of space containing nothing. No stars, no planets, no cataloged objects, just empty interstellar medium according to every survey ever conducted. But when they checked archival data from the Hubble Space Telescope and cross-referenced with recent James Webb observations, they found something unsettling. That empty region showed gravitational lensing effects, subtle bending of light, that suggested the presence of massive amounts of dark matter. Something was there. They just couldn't see it. The third component was an audio file. This was the most disturbing part. Embedded in the data was a 7-second audio waveform. Not random noise, not cosmic radiation interference. This was structured sound. When the team played it back through standard speakers, they heard what can only be described as a voice. Not human, not quite mechanical, something in between. The sound was analyzed by acoustic engineers, linguists, and AI pattern recognition systems. The consensus was chilling. The audio contained phonetic structures consistent with human language, but the frequency range extended far beyond what human vocal cords can produce. Parts of the recording dipped into infrasound, below 20 Hz, frequencies that humans can't hear but can feel, frequencies known to cause feelings of dread, anxiety, and paranoia. And embedded in the higher frequencies, above 20,000 Hz, in the ultrasonic range, was a pattern, a repeating sequence that matched the mathematical structure of the Golden Record's pulsar map, the same map Voyager 2 carried into space to show extraterrestrial life where Earth is located. Someone, or something, had listened to the Golden Record, and they were sending a response. As the team worked around the clock to understand the signal, something even stranger began happening. Voyager 2 started behaving autonomously. On February 16th, just 48 hours after the initial signal, Voyager 2's attitude control thrusters fired. Not a planned maneuver, not a response to any command from Earth. The probe rotated exactly 33 degrees along its yaw axis, reorienting its high-gain antenna away from Earth. NASA immediately sent commands to correct the orientation, but the commands were ignored. Voyager 2 remained locked in its new position, pointing toward the coordinates in Lyra. Then, on February 19th, the plasma wave instrument, which had been functioning normally, suddenly spiked. It began detecting oscillations in the surrounding plasma field that formed a rhythmic pattern. The pattern repeated every 11.3 seconds. When engineers analyzed the frequency, they realized it matched the heartbeat of a human at rest, 72 beats per minute. This was no coincidence. Something was sending a pulse through the interstellar medium, and Voyager 2 was picking it up. Most disturbing of all were the phantom commands appearing in the telemetry logs. These weren't corrupted data or transmission errors. They were actual command sequences, formatted correctly, appearing in the logs as if they'd been sent from Earth, but they hadn't. When the team cross-referenced the command signatures with NASA's database, they found something impossible. The commands matched protocols from the 1990s, legacy code that had been deprecated and removed from all active systems decades ago. Yet here they were, appearing in Voyager 2's command buffer, executing themselves. One command particularly stood out: activate. Protocol pale blue dot. Initiate scan sequence gamma 7. Transmit encoded package to origin. Await confirmation. pale blue dot was the name of the famous photograph Voyager 1 took of Earth in 1990 at Carl Sagan's request. But there was no protocol pale blue dot in Voyager 2's programming. It didn't exist, or at least it shouldn't have. When engineers dug deeper into the archived source code from the 1970s, they found something that made their blood run cold. Buried in the original flight software, hidden in comments that were never meant to be compiled, was a sequence labeled contingency contact. It was a protocol designed to activate if Voyager ever received a signal matching specific parameters. Parameters that included non-solar origin, compressed data format, and embedded audio signature. Someone had anticipated this moment, and they'd hidden a response protocol in Voyager's code 48 years ago. The question wasn't just, what is Voyager 2 responding to? The question was, who knew this would happen? Just when NASA thought things couldn't get stranger, reports started flooding in from observatories around the world. On February 21st, the Arecibo Observatory Replacement Facility in Puerto Rico detected a radio signal at 1420 MHz, the hydrogen line, the universal frequency used in SETI research. The signal lasted exactly 7 seconds, the same duration as the audio file from Voyager 2. 6 hours later, the Parkes Observatory in Australia picked up an identical signal. Then the Very Large Array in New Mexico. Then the FAST telescope in China. All transmitting at the same frequency. All lasting exactly 7 seconds. All pointing back to the coordinates in Lyra. But these signals weren't coming from space. They were coming from Earth. When engineers investigated, they discovered that radio telescopes around the globe were spontaneously activating and transmitting without any human input. The signals were being generated by backup systems, emergency transmitters, even decommissioned equipment that hadn't been powered on in years. Old SETI arrays from the 1980s, Cold War-era deep space communication dishes, abandoned Soviet listening stations in Siberia, all of them suddenly alive, broadcasting in perfect synchronization. It was as if Earth itself had become a transmitter, a planetary antenna responding to something beyond our solar system. Even more disturbing, the signals weren't random. When compiled together, they formed a complete message, a response to whatever Voyager 2 had encountered. And the message was being sent without human authorization. NASA immediately convened an emergency meeting with representatives from the Department of Defense, the National Security Agency, and SETI Institute. The conclusion was unanimous, but terrifying. Something had activated a network that had been dormant for decades, a network designed to respond to extraterrestrial contact. But nobody remembered building it. Retired engineers were contacted. Classified documents from the 1970s were declassified. Archives were searched. And slowly, a picture began to emerge. During the height of the Cold War, a secret international program called Project Echo Chamber had been initiated. Its purpose: create a global network of transmitters that could respond to extraterrestrial signals automatically, even if human civilization was destroyed in nuclear war. The project was abandoned in 1983. The equipment was decommissioned. The records were sealed, but the network had never been fully shut down. It had just been waiting for the right signal to wake it up, and Voyager 2 had just sent it. On February 24th, exactly 10 days after the first impossible signal, Voyager 2 transmitted again. This time, the message was different. The data packet contained a single image. Not from Voyager's cameras, those had been offline since 1989. This was something else, a reconstructed visual built from plasma wave data, particle density, measurements, and magnetic field readings. When NASA's imaging team processed the data, they saw something that shouldn't exist. The image showed a structure, massive, geometric, floating in the void of interstellar space. It wasn't a natural formation. The edges were too precise, the symmetry too perfect. It looked almost like a station, or a gateway. But what truly terrified the analysts was the scale. Based on Voyager 2's distance measurements, the structure was approximately 400 kilometers across. Larger than any asteroid, larger than any moon, just floating silently in the darkness between stars. And it was old. Spectroscopic analysis of the surrounding dust suggested the structure had been there for at least 10,000 years, possibly much longer. Voyager 2 had stumbled upon something ancient, something that predated human civilization. But the true horror came when NASA ran trajectory simulations. They wanted to know if Voyager 2 had drifted close to the structure by accident or if its path had been altered. The results were impossible. According to the simulations, Voyager 2's current trajectory had been leading it toward this exact location since 1989. Every gravitational assist, every course correction, every tiny thruster burn over the past 36 years had been perfectly calculated to bring it to this precise point in space at this exact moment. The odds of this happening by chance? Less than 1 in 10 trillion. Someone had planned this. Someone had known where the structure was and had guided Voyager 2 toward it over the course of decades. But who and how? The team reviewed every mission document, every trajectory calculation, every decision made since launch. They found nothing unusual, no evidence of tampering, no hidden commands. And yet, the math didn't lie. Voyager 2's path had been deliberately engineered to intersect with this structure. Then came the final revelation, the one that made even the most skeptical scientists go silent. When NASA cross-referenced Voyager 2's launch date, August 20th, 1977, with astronomical data, they discovered something extraordinary. On that exact date, the structure in Lyra had aligned perfectly with Earth and the outer solar system along a straight geometric line. A celestial alignment that occurs once every 26,000 years. Voyager 2 hadn't been sent to explore the outer planets. That was just the cover story. It had been sent to find this structure, at the exact moment in human history when the path was clear. And whoever planned this mission, whoever hid those protocols in the code, whoever built the echo chamber network, had known about the structure all along. The question wasn't, what has Voyager 2 found? The question was, who sent us there to find it? On March 1st, 2025, Voyager 2 sent its final scheduled transmission. The signal was different from anything before. Longer, denser, encoded with layers of data that took NASA's supercomputers 3 days to fully decrypt. When they finally decoded it, they found a message. Not in binary, not in mathematics, in English. The message was simple, just 7 words. We've been expecting you. Welcome home. The implications were staggering. Something out there had been waiting for Voyager 2, waiting for humanity to reach this point in space. And it had greeted us not as strangers, but as returnees, as if we'd been here before. Following the text message was another audio file. This one was 33 seconds long. When played back, it contained something that made every person in the room freeze. It was Carl Sagan's voice. The same voice from the Golden Record, the same cadence, the same warmth, speaking words that were never recorded. To whoever finds this message, you have traveled far to reach this place. You have crossed the great darkness between worlds. You have remembered what you forgot. The structure before you is not a destination. It is a doorway, and beyond it lies the truth of who you are, where you came from, and why you were sent away. Do not be afraid. This is not first contact. This is reunion. The recording ended with a sound, a low-frequency hum that matched perfectly with the resonant frequency of Earth's ionosphere. A tone that, according to physicists, would make the entire planet vibrate if broadcast at sufficient amplitude. And then Voyager 2 went silent, not because its power failed, not because its transmitter broke. The probe simply stopped sending signals. When NASA sent commands to reestablish contact, there was no response. Voyager 2 had completed its mission. Or perhaps it had just begun a new one. In the days following Voyager 2's final transmission, the scientific community erupted into chaos. Some called it a hoax. Others insisted it was proof of extraterrestrial intelligence. A few proposed even more disturbing theories, that humanity itself was extraterrestrial, that Earth was a colony we'd forgotten about, that the structure in Lyra was built by our own ancestors. NASA remained officially silent. When pressed by journalists, their statement was brief. We are analyzing anomalous data from Voyager 2. No conclusions have been reached. Further updates will be provided as information becomes available. But behind closed doors, the real work had begun. Deep Space Network facilities worldwide were retasked to focus on the coordinates in Lyra. The James Webb Space Telescope was quietly redirected. Plans for a dedicated interstellar probe, one that could reach the structure in 90 years using nuclear propulsion, were drawn up in secret. And then the dreams started. First, just a few reports. Radio astronomers, JPL engineers, Deep Space Network operators. All reporting the same thing, vivid dreams of standing in a vast chamber, surrounded by geometry that hurt to look at. Hearing a voice that spoke without sound. The voice always said the same thing. Remember. Within 2 weeks, thousands of people worldwide reported identical dreams. Not scientists, not government officials, ordinary people, children, elderly, people who'd never heard of Voyager 2, all dreaming of the structure, all hearing the voice. Psychologists called it mass hysteria. Neurologists found no physiological explanation. But the dreams continued, spreading like a signal through the collective unconscious of humanity. And then on March 15th, exactly 1 month after the first signal, something impossible happened. Every radio telescope on Earth picked up a transmission simultaneously. Not from Lyra, from everywhere. As if the entire universe was speaking at once. The message was brief, just a set of new coordinates. Closer this time. Only 600 light-years away. Still impossibly distant for human travel, but close enough to study with existing telescopes. When astronomers pointed their instruments at the coordinates, they saw it. Another structure, identical to the first. Same size, same geometry. And then they found another, and another. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Scattered throughout the galaxy like breadcrumbs, or like notes in a bottle, floating in an infinite ocean. All of them aligned, all of them pointing towards something at the galactic center. The structures weren't random. They were a map, a path, and humanity had just taken the first step along it. The question now remains, what is the structure Voyager 2 found? What is it a doorway to? And who, or what, has been leaving these markers across the galaxy for us to find? Is this first contact? Or is Carl Sagan's voice correct? Is this reunion? Are we a species that forgot its origin? Refugees from a civilization that fell millennia ago, sent to Earth as a seed colony, waiting for the moment we were advanced enough to find our way home? NASA isn't saying. Governments are silent, but the structures are real. Voyager 2's signal was real. And somewhere 13 billion miles from Earth, a small probe drifts silently towards something we were always meant to find. The cosmos is speaking. And for the first time in human history, we're finally listening.